Welcome everyone to the Winchester Public Schools Board of Education Special Meeting Budget Workshop for February 12, 2026. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The second TV screen is on, not on. Let's just make sure we're live before we get going. Usually that second TV is on. Oh, on the left? It is live, yeah, let me make sure. It's just weird that that TV's not on. Okay, we're good.
All right.
It is live.
Roll call.
Joseph Santoro.
Chrissy Rylander.
Frank Oliveri.
Shane Centrella.
Kurt Werner.
Julie Luby.
Nora Persky.
Eleanor Bishop.
Carol Kiak.
Jonathan Moorhart.
All right, on to item 2, public comment. The Winchester Board of Education welcomes you to its business meeting. There are 2 opportunities set aside to hear comments from the public. We welcome and encourage public participation as a valued part of communicating input with the Winchester Board of Education. We appreciate your adherence to the following. Complete the requested information on the sign-in sheet if you wish to speak. State your name and address when called upon to speak, and you will be allotted 3 minutes to share your comments. Please be advised that it is not the practice of the Board of Education to engage in dialogue regarding commentary. The superintendent of schools will be directed by the chairperson to prepare an appropriate response in a timely manner. We appreciate your time and thoughtful commentary. Does anyone wish to speak? Please do.
So I'll come here. Is it on now?
You
Have
got
to touch it.
the microphone, that's it.
So I don't know if I'm here as a resident or your state representative, but I wanted to come in here and talk a little bit about budget and what we're doing in Hartford. But some of the things I'd like to talk about also is the ECS and what this town has gained other than ECS dollars over the years. Since 2017. And I have handouts for you. Above and beyond ECS, this town has garnered over $18 million. Well, above and beyond ECS. That just goes 2017 through 2022 for the reason those are the only audited numbers the state could give me last week. This came from the commissioner's office. So I'll pass it out so you guys can have it. A lot of it's commissioner network, which is way out of budget. So your ECS money will be not included in this list.
For this year. Thank you.
I'm sure you have it. Took them a while to pull it together. So it's just, we talk about ECS, and I've been fighting hard with the commissioner now, and so everybody knows, they probably heard me talk about it for when we were in receivership. This woman named Charlene Russell Tucker was here at Bachelor School. She was here with Kathy Dempsey doing the receivership and the finances. It's fortunate enough for us as a district, that person who's doing the receivership, Charlene Russell Tucker, is now the Commissioner of Education. And Kathy Dempsey is now the CFO. So we have the 2 top people that know our district very well.
Okay.
And know what we need for money. When I talked to the commissioner last week, she says, Jay, I'm gonna tell you, if you want out of the Alliance District, petition to get out, but your money's not protected. That's why she has us in Norwich still in there. The 2 schools that do have a semi-private high school are both Alliance districts. So she's protecting both. It's just what she thinks is right. But you can petition to get out of it. It puts you in the larger pool where things might go down. She's nervous this year because she stated to me she has 11,000 less students in the state of Connecticut, so her pool might go down, the numbers, the money. We're pushing hard. Everybody's talking about the $4 billion. That's overtaxed money of yours. It should come back to the district. It should come back to the people. It needs to. But the governor will also, his office with the Department of Ed pulled this together, so they know we've gotten extra money above and beyond ECS. And that's quite a large amount. Some of the things are Commissioners Network, because I talked to the previous superintendent when it came in, you had to have an exit plan when that money was gone. A lot of that was special needs for special teachers to come in to try to boost the district back up. Ironically, that came in just as Charlene Russell Tucker, prior to becoming commissioner, she's the one who lobbied for that, and then she became commissioner after that in 2021. And she kept pushing for more money. So it's only a 5-year deal, this Commissioners Network. There's only a few towns in it that have Commissioners Network. There's $9 million a year for Commissioners Network. Alliance districts, there were 30, that was the cap. The state has decided to keep everybody in unless you want out, so now there's 33. And those are just protected districts across the state. But we are way above the average right now. We don't need to be in the Alliance district anymore because we overqualify for what it is, but we have the option to stay in. So when you look at that, and the governor released his budget, I sent you a spreadsheet, which is a mile long of the town runs. The Board of Ed stays neutral with the Alliance money. You can pass that around. But that problem with that document came out on the 6th, 2 days after the budget. It's just a guideline. Right now, as Julie said, she'll be testifying Tuesday in appropriations. I'm not on appropriations anymore. I was for 8 years. I'm a ranking member of Human Services, so I deal a lot with people's needs. We're probably the largest committee budget in the state budget. So I stepped off appropriation to concentrate on that. It's important to be there. It's important to testify. This is where this document gets picked apart. This is the governor's recommendations. This lowers education funding. This lowers magnet schools $12 million so we can have $12 million for free breakfasts. This lowers a lot of line items in here. You can get this online, I can get you a copy of it, but it mirrors what last year's was. $56 billion budget, okay? We're in the second year of it. And we can't go up from that because we are slated for a 2-year biennium budget. So the thing that stinks, something I've always talked about in Hartford, our budget should be done before the municipal budgets. We need to give you your money so you know so anything we do now, it's gonna be for next year. Unless we make a correction within this budget, but you're not gonna know. We get the budget about 4 a.m. the night before we get to vote on it because we don't get to see it as a minority party. It comes at 4 a.m., then we have 12 hours to read it, a 1,000-page document, and then it's voted on. Those municipal runs will be done at 4 a.m. So we won't know that until that document comes, what the final numbers are. We lobby for it. We want to make sure that, our towns are taken care of. It's important. Education is number one. Our kids are important. We need to take care of it. The commissioner does look at it, and she says, listen, Commissioners Network dollars in Winchester, it's great. You had all these extra teachers brought in, but when they leave the SIC system, they don't have that in the rest. She's looking at that. Well, when I say, and I know Julie and I have been on a call with her, and she has corresponded with you since you and I had that conversation. She says she's worked with you on attorney stuff and things like that. She's been very accommodating to superintendent. She wants to offer up whatever she can because she needs to protect the superintendents. But she wants a long-term agreement with whatever higher school we go with. Just because she wants to, she wants a commitment and she wants to work with us. It's so great that we had her here for 2 years. She actually ran our books, so she knows what's in there. That's how she knew what to give us for Commissioners Network money and what the town needed. She had her hands in it. No other district has that. So we're looked at pretty highly. I don't want to take up more of my 3 minutes, but I can answer questions for you guys if you want. I just wanted to make sure because I don't want to go out saying that we haven't done anything in the state since 2009. I lobbied hard for the Commissioners Network when I got into office and made sure that we could find extra money. It wasn't us that put us into Alliance District. It was a commissioner that put us there because of our situation. We can get out of that, so we're not protected. But we have to make that call. You guys have to make that call.
So there's a chance that the money could go down if we got out of the alliance.
Yeah, you don't have to question.
Carol, This is
Well, he
public
said we
comment.
could,
No.
okay.
if the chair decides to. So, and my number is, I did speak to the chair. I've spoken to Carol once. I've not spoken to anybody else. My phone number's out there. Give me a call. In years past, I've talked to Nora, mostly on educational stuff, because she has a good input being a teacher in the schools, and some of the things we do don't make sense, and she lets me know they don't make sense. But they're baked, things are baked after hours in Hartford. So, be boisterous in Hartford, we'll see what we can get for money. But I just wanna make sure we have gotten a lot of grant dollars in this town. We wanna continue to do that. And the commissioner wants to help us do that. So, we want that $4 billion to come back. We don't want you paying the public benefits. We want you to have your money to where it goes. But we have a huge debt in Hartford as far as pensions. We haven't paid pensions for years. We're just starting to. It's a big thing. You know, you pay off $9 billion last year in pension debt.
Right.
$9 billion of the $46 billion we owe. What did that do for us? That loosened up $700 million of interest in our budget to where we could use elsewhere. $9 billion loosened up $700 million that we would have to pay in an interest note. So if we keep paying those chunks like that, we're gonna stop paying all the interest that we're paying. So, that's it. I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I did receive something too. I received an email. It was actually Selectman Bishop who asked me to share something on his behalf because he can't be here. He said, I am unable to join in person tonight because I'm in Hartford at this moment advocating for emergency funding with some of our highest level lawmakers. The governor is currently amending the fiscal year 2027 budget. I believe there may be some hope left to receive an amendment to our ECS contribution this year. There are important points to argue about updating our ECS calculation. Winchester has been designated as far more economically distressed than last year, according to both the Department of Economic and Community Development and the PIC Index. I am especially hopeful that the ECS calculation will be permanently amended before the next budget, as this is a current legislative priority in Hartford. This means next year's budget could include a significant ECS increase. It is important to continually advocate for Winchester's unique needs as legislators redevelop the ECS formula this year. I don't believe we need to always see things as black and white, either good schools and high taxes or high taxes and designated schools. There is always a third path, and I am working to support you and our schools by leaving no stone unturned. I am an optimist. I am taking steps every day to use my unique political position to challenge my own party to do better at the state level. I hope we may all be creative and ambitious in finding ways to support our students. Thank you for looking out for all of our children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If anyone else wishes to speak, please speak now. Does anyone else wish to speak? You haven't, sure.
Hartford is closed today. There's nothing going on there for a state holiday, so we can't be in here today working on our IT.
Okay.
Stay down.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Okay, seeing none. Let's move on to item 3, action item. This is the fiscal year 27 budget review discussion and possible action on the vote on the budget. Does anyone wish to make a motion concerning the budget?
Before we do, wasn't the information going to be presented that I emailed about?
I have information to share. As a matter of Robert rules, you need a motion on the floor and then you hold the discussion.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's not in lieu of discussion.
Motion to enter discussion.
It wouldn't be a motion for discussion. It would have to be a main motion on the budget.
Would anyone like to make a motion on the budget?
Then I'll make a motion. Okay. I move, well, can I pre-talk, then motion?
I think you need to make your motion.
Okay. I move to have the 4 Winchester Public Schools members appointed to the Gilbert School Corp. To call for a special meeting of the Gilbert School Corp. To put on an agenda a motion and possible action to rescind the motion made last night of the tuition bill of $10,471,670, to have further discussion pending more information about class sizes, program participation, both in clubs and athletics, to have the data, to make an informed decision using that data.
Tiffany, you got all that? Summary? Yeah. Would anyone like to second that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. There is a motion on the floor. Would you like to read it again?
Sure. I move.
Hold on.
Okay.
It needs to be about our budget, which I think you brought it around to.
Yep.
It does have to, I mean, our action item is about our budget discussions, so.
Which includes the Gilbert bill.
Thinking that through, yep.
Okay, want me to restate?
Sure.
I move to have the 4 Winchester Public School members appointed to the Gilbert School Corp. To call for a special meeting of the Gilbert School Corp. Board to put an agenda, a motion, and possible action to rescind the motion made on February 11th, 2026, that approved the Gilbert School Corp. Tuition bill to the Winchester Public Schools for $10,471,670, to have further discussion pending information on enrollment in all programs, clubs, activities, and athletics, and class sizes per teacher, per building, in all programs.
Can you read the first motion of that? Because you're saying that you want 4 of our people to be appointed to the corporation?
No,
Okay, could you read
That
that
are
again?
the 4 that are already on,
On the board? Okay.
yeah, that are already on the board.
And we had a second. Did we have a second? Who's Christine? Second.
And my only question is, do we have the right to do that?
That's what we're
Find
going
out.
for.
That's part of the discussion.
Okay,
We'll
I'm
find out.
discussing it. I don't think we have the right to do that.
So, we have a motion, it's been seconded, and now
Yeah.
it's discussion?
Now it's discussion.
Okay. Just put some context to this, okay? I would expect, as duly elected members of this community, as Board of Ed members that have been elected by the public, that one of the fiduciary responsibilities is to effectively manage our taxpayer dollars. So, one of those ways to do this, to deliver an excellent program for all kids, pre-K through 22, the way in which we can do that is to get information. Last night I watched the board meeting. I didn't have that information as a taxpayer. I didn't hear that information, and I didn't see that information in the Gilbert budget. I think that in order for you, for the 4 members of this board to make a fair assessment of the programming, one would have to examine all the data, because we are talking about uncovering and leaving no stone untouched. And part of the stone is, what are the enrollments in athletic programs in the middle school and in the high school? Freshman programs, JV programs, varsity programs, because that has been budgeted over $100,000. Part of the examination should be how many kids are enrolled in clubs in the middle school and in the high school, because that has also been budgeted over $100,000. And enrollment in classes, to have that data, should simply be part of the conversation. And I implore the 4 people that serve on their board to have that data in your hands, just so you can make a decision, because we need to examine everything. A $2.5 million ask on just the education side is over 2 mils. So everything has to be examined with a fine comb, and part of that is participation and enrollment. And unfortunately, I did not see that last night. And I believe you asked it of the Corp as a question, and I don't know if you've received it since last night, but it would need to be examined by program, by building, in those measures.
Do you feel that that question was answered last night by head of school, Susie? As far as the clubs in the academic or athletics?
I mean, we have
Yep.
budget book here, so it would speak to specific.
As far as I can speak to what he said on the athletic part. There were, to the teams that were not there this year, it does not necessarily mean the teams won't be there next year. In the teams that were not there, that he said that one of the teams had over 24 kids on it, so they had to add an assistant for middle school. So they moved one of the stipends for the teams that were not in existence to that middle school assistant coach. He did explain that last night. He said, as far as the clubs are concerned, he did account for that. He did talk to that, and if you were watching, he did speak to that.
Do you have numbers on paper to which you can examine?
No.
That's my ask.
Frank, do you have anything to add?
He did explain the academic classes, that some, because of the PT classes such as physics and math, that some classes are larger than others. Some have 9, some have 18 students. And it all depends on which program and which kids select what programs for the PT classes. So he says you're not gonna see, like he said in words was, you're not gonna have a 4th grade class like here in elementary school and have 60 students, so you divide by 4 and you get 15 in each. He says we have open enrollment for the kids to pick the courses they wanted, the math, the physics, the sciences, and by that's how we set up the class sizes. So some classes will have 18, some classes will have 12.
I'm fully aware of high school scheduling, and I do understand that some classes are gonna be low, and I do understand that kids need specific classes to graduate on time. However, you don't have that data to examine that.
But what would that gain us by examining that? That it's not what he's saying is true? Or you
It's-
want to see it in black and white, and
I
that's the
think-
only way you'll believe it?
I think taxpayers need to know that we've examined everything.
I think it's important to note that in the younger grades, through 6th grade, there are no, free after-school sports teams. There's no after-school clubs. there's a few, but kids pay to be involved in them. So, which is fine, but I think it needs to be a conversation about equality. I mean, I'm not saying anybody's lying from the Gilbert School. Nobody distrusts the Gilbert School, but I just think we need to make sure we're examining both sides of things equally. And I believe our superintendent has provided a very detailed budget for us. And I don't think it's unreasonable to request the same from head of schools, Susie.
So, pardon. So are you asking the people to recommend to head of school Susie to cut some of their programming?
That's not what I'm asking. I'm
you-
asking to have the data in front of you so you can make decisions.
But like Frank said, what does
What is it?
that
So you're-
achieve
you're
for
saying-
like class sizes?
So you're saying is what we received this past month, the white book, which is their budget, line by line, is not sufficient for us to make a decision about the
You
budget?
don't have there's further detail there that you could have.
Yeah, I think the overarching question is how would that change the outcome or being able to pour through the budget? How would that change the outcome? So I
It
think
would.
that's kind of the question.
It may not, but you're signaling to the taxpayer, you've done everything. You've looked at everything, and I'm looking for you, for folk, to know that there is further detail you can examine.
I think at our last meeting, I did speak about asking for reductions, us and them equally, and possibly with more information, we could make that request more specifically. And we can get a better idea of, again, making sure that kids in this town have an equal opportunity for whatever their education may include. But I think with detailed information, we can be much more specific and exact, if you will, in requests, in just general knowledge for taxpayers as well.
One of the enhancements this year is what they found out in the last 2 months is to, in the next year and a half, 18 months, to improve the math program because of what the state had told them about their program previously, that what they didn't know about. So that's one of its major
I want to address
advancements.
the after-school program. It
No.
says right on here that you got stuff from the state right here that Jay
It's a
just
grant
gave us.
for CHAMPS.
Okay, you said there was no after-school stuff.
People still pay to participate in those activities. Part of that is a daily after-school program, like I'll say like a daycare, you know,
Well,
kids
everybody
stay.
does. Every public school does.
Right, so
My
that's,
daughter pays for her kids' after-school stuff.
right, so our CHAMPS program allows us to provide a very affordable after-school program.
Right.
And then with the CHAMPS grant, we provide activities for the kids at less cost than it would be out in the world.
Right.
We do a basketball clinic, but the kids pay, I think, $45 to participate. We do a school play, but the kids pay about $70 to participate. We do a ski club, the kids pay all of their own expenses. The CHAMPS grant pays just for the staff to run it. So the only after-school activities that the kids don't pay for and are funded through CHAMPS are a yearbook club and our drone activity. The kids are not paying a fee for.
Okay, so they are getting something.
And there's nothing wrong with paying for children to be involved in these things. It's great opportunities, and I'm glad that we can provide them. But if there's a whole other half of our school district that does not have to pay for after-school activities, it creates an unequal experience.
Well, if it's sports, no school charges for sports.
Sure
So
they
if
do.
you're in the football,
Pay to
and
play?
you,
Of course they do. Or pay to participate, I should say.
well, not where my kids went to school.
There are districts that do,
That,
They-
okay, but for the most part,
Most of the
my
schools.
or
kids
they
don't.
rely on fundraising.
My kids don't.
Let me
I
ask
mean, they
a
have their own
question.
fundraising. The PTO was involved. They did, every game, they do a.
But we're
a
talking about
stand.
this district.
Okay, but I'm also making a suggestion that if you, like at the high school, the PTO had food. At halftime, they were cooking hamburgers, hot dogs, they had food, they had
Yeah,
ice cream.
that's great.
So they made money, so the
That's
kids
great.
didn't really have to pay for it, is what I'm saying.
So then why are we
unfortunately
paying?
don't have sporting activities at our school anymore now that 7th and 8th grade
Right.
is up at Gilbert. That's unfortunate because I think having sporting teams brings pride to the school, something that I think we'd like to have more, have more things that bring more pride to like the Pearson Panther, Pearson Pride. That used to be a thing. It still is, but we don't have teams to celebrate anymore. So unfortunately, we don't have, that available to us anymore. I want to be careful on where we're going with this because it's detracting from what we came here to do tonight. What we did last night, what was voted on last night, whether we agree or not, it has been done. We had the budget books to comb over. We did send questions. He did answer questions last night.
And all the other nights, and all the other previous
Well,
meetings.
and they are contributing $250,000 to this budget. I won't say that's a profit of $250 because they're not counting the grants that are coming to them. So we offset the grants that are being owed to them, so it won't be a total of $250 that's coming to the budget. But it's not like we didn't we might not have like data of every class or anything like that, but we made an informed decision and we voted on it last night. So, and we have to also understand that we can make suggestions to them all they want. They are a vendor of us. They are a part of our budget. Any vendor, we do not make the rules of what the vendor does, right? We can make suggestions, they make the final decision. So, our purpose tonight is to discuss our 2027 budget and hopefully move towards a vote on that tonight or further discussion or whatever. There is a motion on the floor and there's a second.
I would like to say one more thing.
Sure.
I am not interested in running the Gilbert School program. I'm not, okay? I am just looking at, and we can look at our own budget tonight. We can.
Well, I hope so.
We still can do that business. I'm just asking for information so that this community knows we've looked at everything.
Can I ask a question, since you brought it up? This year, I believe, is the first time you have met with the town manager and Mr. Susi, right? I mean, you've had meetings with them these past months about the
The three of us met together
together
once.
once or
I
twice.
meet with Paul every other week.
Weekend. So, I mean, there is that communication above us, which never before, I believe, happened, which is good.
It has in the
No, it
past.
has.
It's been,
But-
so here's what we have, right? And this is what I learned last year. There is distrust between the two entities. I'm trying to move that forward, which is why Julie and head of school Susie have met on a consistent basis.
Right.
We need to trust one another. And this talk and this going down the same road year after year is not gonna help with that trust. Okay? How many years have you been on the board?
11. It's
11
my
years.
11th budget.
Okay. And you've been looking for other options besides Gilbert for probably 11 years now. You have not found any solutions. We have a solution, and I can go back to what I said last year. We have a solution presented in front of us. It's been a solution that we've had for over 100 years. We need to work with what we have and create trust with one another Because otherwise, every year going into budget season, we're gonna have an us versus them thing, and it's not gonna end well for anyone, including our kids. So if anyone doesn't have anything else to say on this topic, we have a motion, we have a second. We can vote on this motion right now. All in favor of the motion presented for us?
More information.
Okay. All opposed? Okay, 6-3. Against? Okay. Moving on.
Can I make a motion?
If it refers to our 2027, absolutely. Go for it.
I would like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's appropriated budget request, less $9,600 reflecting the placeholder that was in Gilbert's original ask, for a total of $26,540,962.
Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Christine will second.
May I make a question to that?
We are open.
So we have a motion on the floor.
We can
You
open it up
discuss
to
and debate
discussion.
now.
Yep.
Okay.
And I have all of the information I was
Okay.
asked to bring as well.
My question is, then that doesn't include the ESC funds of $7,823,991, which should be subtracted from that total budget number of 27 million or 26 million, whichever you
Wasn't
use.
that,
Don't disagree with you, Frank.
I
What?
know.
Look on page 13, please.
He wants the 19.
Go to page 13. No budget.
this is on Tuesday, right? The same,
Yes.
yes, right.
Okay. We have the total anticipated costs for operating budget for Winchester Schools, $27,547,356. Line below that is educating costs, sharing grants to the town, ECS funding to offset cost education. So my question to you is, I want to see the $19,723,365 as the number we present to the town manager, not the 27 million.
And before we discuss the ECS, I have a question, because I went on the Secretary of the State of Connecticut's website, and I pulled out all the ECS for every district, whatever, in the state of Connecticut. And in this one, it says for 2024, 25, 25, 26, 26, 27, it says we're getting 8,024,957.
200,960 or something, I'm making that up a little, is diverted to the district directly because we are an alliance district. The two in combination, you'll see in our grant pages, the 200 reflected. Our full ECS amount is that $8 million number.
So just put it on as a different line item, is what you're saying.
So the ECS portion goes directly to the town to defray the cost to the taxpayer. And through Alliance, they said, you get a little piece of that ECS direct rather than as an
Okay,
offset.
but the town's getting it to defer the cost of education.
The 7.8 goes directly to the town, the 200 goes to the Board of Ed budget.
Okay,
And it's reflected that way in our book.
Okay.
So your number is correct.
I
It
just wanted,
Yep.
okay.
So I don't know that, if that's what has always been done procedurally, if the town receives the grant money and then I don't know that
That's-
we can
It
change
says right
that.
here, that cost the taxpayers, this is our budget, right in front of us. This 19,723,365, it's there for a reason.
I understand, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know that we can change that.
I'm not
since-
changing anything, it's here. This is what it says. I'm not one changing number. This is what it says in the
Right.
summary.
I don't think we make the call on that.
So that would be a great conversation, I think I may have suggested before with the town manager. In his budget, we are one line, and if we were to request the 19,000, it would be the 19,000, and he would have the 19 million, I'm sorry, and the 8 million would be shown as a credit to the town. The amount that he puts in our bank account, if you will, would be the 19 million.
It's accounting.
I love the way you're saying
Yes.
it. And I
Because
agree wholeheartedly.
last year, I remember at the auditorium, the number was 21,900,000, not 23,900,000 that's shown in our books now.
I don't think so.
So, to me, I'm a taxpayer. Never mind, I'm here now on this side, I'm
Frank
a
says-
taxpayer, but
Frank says he
that's
can
the
sell the
number
19 million.
I want my
That's what he
taxes
wants.
based on.
But it's all
Hey,
counting, so
listen,
these.
you're a better salesman,
Yeah.
you can sell
Yeah,
whatever
go
number
for
we
it.
give you.
But it's saying, on this side, these are our expenses, and this side, these are all our grants, so they're coming,
It's like-
but it's accounting.
No, I go to a restaurant and somebody gives me a gift certificate. The bill is 200, I get a gift certificate for 100.
Yeah.
I pay 100. This is my gift certificate,
Plus
7
hopefully
million.
the
You're
tip.
not wrong, Frank.
Right.
You
So-
are, you're not
Are you
absolutely
So-
right.
So if I'm not wrong, why isn't that the number we're voting on? That's all I'm asking.
He's not answering that question.
It's a question to the town manager. It is, as Carol said, it's a function
It's accounting.
of accounting and the way it's shown in the town budget. You're right, our request is 19 million plus the ECS funding, which is there to defray the cost to the taxpayer.
Frank, let's you and I go see Mr. Harrington tomorrow.
It's
I'll
even-
happily come along.
There's probably a
Unfortunately,
legal
the end
thing.
result to the taxpayer is the same. That, I mean, it doesn't.
Is it?
It is.
Yes. Yes, so
It
your
is.
point is spot on. The 19 million is the ask of the taxpayer.
So shouldn't that what be the number we,
No.
That's,
Yes, but
that's
no.
what we'll sell.
well, I guess, all right. Pass it on for vote. I mean, we have a right to vote.
No, let's keep it to discussion. So we have the motion on the floor, to accept the budget as it has been presented to us. I think, Julie has a couple scenarios to go over.
I do.
Just for us to further understand what we currently have and what if we did make some cuts to the budget, what would that look like? How would
Okay.
that affect our students?
So, I'm just gonna go off script for 1 second and react to, I think, Jay made such an important point when he spoke that I think should be present in everyone's mind when we have this discussion. There's a lot of talk about why is our budget getting so much bigger? Jay painted the picture for you. I sort of drew on mine. There were the Commissioner Network years where we had a great influx of money. Then there were the COVID years where we had a great influx of money. And our rich uncle is gone.
Right, that's why.
We are out of special,
Needs, or whatever.
special sources of
Special
revenue.
sources.
They're gone. So all those years of zero that we had were, I'm not gonna say okay, but
They were masked.
they were masked, perfect word, by first Commissioners Network money, then COVID money. I now know why the former superintendent left when she did, because we hit a huge
Fiscal
cliff
cliff.
where inflation's
Yep.
doing this,
And everything
and the
else.
funding dried up and is gone, and it is the perfect storm where it's coming back on the town now. As I think Jay mentioned and Mr. Bishop mentioned, we are trying, I am learning everything I can quickly about advocating in Hartford two ways. One, to address just in general. For example, the revised budget cuts all of our Family Resource Center funding. And we don't pay but $3,000 to have a Family Resource Center, which has play groups for little kids like 2 days a week, and they take trips and they do parent education, and they're a really important program. If the governor's budget passes as is, we lose ours because we don't pay for it through the appropriated budget. So I will be advocating for all of the different aspects of the governor's budget that address education in hopes that something goes up instead of down, along with everyone else in the state trying to get more money to education. The other thing I am trying to do is communicate one of the things after great study of the ECS formula. If we were a K-12 district and did not have an endowed academy for our secondary students, we would be getting $1 million more. Because the formula is set up so that you have a foundation base amount for your students, and then there's like multipliers for your level of need in the community. Your endowed academy students don't get those multipliers. So after some very complicated calculations and a lot of support from AI, it's determined we would be getting $1 million more if not for being penalized, when in fact we pay, the definition of ECS is the students for which you are financially responsible. We are 100% financially responsible for all the kiddos, regardless of what grade they're in, and we are being penalized $1 million a year for literally no good reason. And in all likelihood, we may be the only district in the state to whom that is an issue, because we are probably the only ones who, there's only 3 endowed academies, so there's less than a dozen towns that even use endowed academies.
Hey, Jeannie.
And we are probably the only district who sends
Yeah,
all our
okay.
kids to that one place
I'll call
versus
you.
letting kids choose between half a dozen places.
But don't we let them choose?
No,
They can go to Wolcott.
no.
The high school kids can't?
No.
They can't choose to go there?
Wolcott? Do you mean
Oh,
Oliver
Wolcott.
Wolcott
Yeah,
Tech?
they're- yeah.
Yes, that is, we have to allow that, yes, they
Yeah,
can,
so we do let them choose.
they can apply to get in there.
Yeah.
Most towns who use an endowed academy might say, well, you can go to this town's high school, that town's high school. There are options
So
for,
it's a public high school is what you're saying. They have to have more than one option?
they don't have to, but they typically do. And all the other endowed academies draw students from more than one town. So we are really a unique scenario. We're already one of just 3, and I think we're one of one, by way of saying, I think we have a compelling argument that we are being unduly ripped off, if you will, inadvertently. Not saying anyone's doing anything wrong, but when you stop and look at the calculation, so I will also be trying really hard with Jay's support to figure out to whom I can say that. And I think I can make a compelling argument. I mean, if we could get another $1 million a year, we might not be having this conversation tonight. So I thank you, Jay, for showing the cliff, because that does tell the story of why you're seeing, you know, I've heard it said, well, the Board of Ed has had large increases over the last couple of years. Yes, we have, because we had none for such a long time while we had grant funds. And now that the grant funds are gone, we've got to rebuild the foundation to do business.
That's right.
So the budget that I presented, I guess it was just last week, wasn't a wish list. It was the baseline requirement for a safe and compliant school district. You asked, and I have prepared scenarios for further reductions, but I'm going to just say to you that these are not efficiencies, they are deletions of essential services. We've been chipping away for over a decade with our budget growth trailing inflation by nearly 20%. The current budget is 99.64% fixed by law or contract. Any large reductions can only come from the 0.36% of our budget that's discretionary, or by defaulting on our mission to provide a safe, high-quality education. We've made staffing reductions through attrition, trading one position for another one. We've absorbed roles. People have left, and we've said, okay, we won't replace them, we'll just divvy up their work. We've gone without increases so long that we are way behind the growth of inflation. Ultimately, the drivers of our increase are tuition, benefits, and transportation, and that's 84% of the increase. When the funding fails to keep pace with inflation, the district borrows from its future by not filling essential positions and forcing the remaining staff to absorb multiple roles. Reductions in the areas of special education and safety aren't just cuts, they're potential violations of state and federal law. With so little of the budget being discretionary, there is no fluff to cut. One of the things that we haven't done, and I was considering suggesting, but in the spirit of time, I won't. If we go through the budget detail pages of this book and turn the pages together, page by page by page, I will challenge you to find anything that is undefined and superfluous. The only pages that get only just so far, like instructional supplies, and I can share with you the worksheets behind that with the price of the markers and the construction paper. Every penny in this budget is accounted for, and none of it is fluff. We need to deliberate, remembering that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. any cuts are going to be a long-term debt the community will eventually have to pay through decreased student achievement and potential legal challenges regarding mandated services. The savings we take today will be paid back with interest in the form of legal challenges, lost staff, and diminished student potential. This board set priorities: support students and support staff, and increase teacher retention. Nothing in the scenarios you're going to look at tonight is aligned with those priorities. The scenarios I'm going to show you will result in, and there's several different scenarios, either larger class sizes, the loss of mandated student supports, the loss of programs, or the inability to maintain a safe, positive school climate. To cut further is to move from an already lean operation to one that is fundamentally unable to meet the needs of Winchester students. We are now getting into the structural integrity of the school system itself. So I'm going to give you, this is a two-sided paper. I'm going to ask you to start on the side that says request 1. That's my copy. And when it gets to the ends, if you want to share for anyone else, and Matthew, if you want to go ahead and put request 1 side on the screen, if you can stretch it at all, that would be great. Before you dig in, I want to say a couple things about what you're looking at, and I'm going to take you through this in detail. Ordinarily, I have made presentations before where we look at scenarios of reduction. It's a very common superintendent sort of strategy to label the top one, green, like, okay, I don't really want to, but I could. Yellow, like, you're getting in the danger zone, and red, like, this would be a hot mess disaster. I couldn't do that because even the smallest reduction on here is deep, dark yellow. And everything else on here is in the red, like that's a really bad idea, the buzzers are ringing, don't do it. I am uncomfortable with everything on this piece of paper, and I want to be sure that you understand that I cannot support any of these scenarios. So I had 2 different requests. One request came in to take 25% of the increase that we looked at the last board meeting as part of your questions. We looked at the increase, and actually it's in the budget book as well, I'm saying that wrong. Just the increase that is supporting the K-6 program. So the first side of this paper addresses 25% of the K-6 increase and 50% of the K-6 increase. Translated into dollars, you see in the box, the first one is $226,000, the next one is $453,000. A second request came in for 30% of the total increase, which is $767,000, and 50% of the total increase, which is almost $3 million. What I want to just remind you is that of the $2.5 million increase, $900,000 of that is supporting the K-6 students, and it is entirely wages and benefits. If you go back in your budget books to the increase analysis on page 19, you'll see that the piece that is supporting, the part of the increase going towards K-6 students is actually $965,000 in wages and benefits. We have offset that by already going through the budget and shaving computer programs, supplies, anything we could to find $60,000 of offsets to that 965 number. The remainder of the increase, well, I'll do that when we get to the other one. So in the K-6, if we were to try to reduce the overall budget by $226,000, $664, and you'll see I've put in bold where it is eliminating human beings who work for us or have positions for us currently. 2 classroom teachers, which obviously would lead to larger class sizes and would ultimately create a budget hole, because that class size reduction, once those students age out of our district, every other grade needs 4. So For example, if we were to cut a sixth grade teacher, that's a one-year cut, and we'll need that teacher again the following year. We would eliminate the cafeteria monitors that this budget added. We would eliminate field trips and field trip transportation. We would eliminate the stipend that we created for the gifted program. We would eliminate from the supply line the STEAM night and the literacy night. We would take 10% off of classroom supplies. That line currently is $57,000, so we would reduce that by another $5,700 in addition to reducing the STEAM night and literacy night. So that would be about $12,000 or so out of $57,000. We would eliminate the additional 0.4 of a custodian. If you've been in the schools this week, you would say that's such a bad idea. And we would reduce office supplies by 20%. Now, those office supplies, I think that budget line is roughly $13,000. So maybe it's about, it's about $13,000. So I'm talking about saving about $2,500 to $3,000. The main thing in that budget line is the copy paper used to make instructional materials for kids. There's about $1,000 across the two schools for pencils and erasers and bookmarks and all the things that we give the kids for perfect attendance and being good. Big expense in that line, $2,000 worth, is for the batteries for the walkie-talkie system that they use for those 2,000 behavior calls, not optional. So that's what it looks like to get to $226,000. And that was the easy one. Do you have any questions about anything in that scenario? Then I'll go on to the next. I will say to you, this is theoretical. When this board adopts a budget, whatever number you provide, I will go back with the leadership team, look at that number, and try to mitigate the impact as best I can. One thing that's not calculated here is the $9,000 difference in the Gilbert number. So if you tell me you need to cut $50,000, the first 10 will be that Gilbert. And I will look really hard to minimize and mitigate. This was built with real numbers. I started with salaries for beginning teachers, because if we eliminate 2 teachers, it will be the last 2 hired who typically are on step 1 in making the least amount of money. So let's move on to the 50% of the K6 increase, which is $453,000. That gets a little harder to do, as if the first one wasn't hard. Again, 2 classroom teachers. We would eliminate the 1 special education teacher that is additional in this year's budget. That teacher was slated so that we could create a pre-K, I'll say autism program, which was purposeful to avoid potential outplacements by creating that smaller setting that will be conducive to students with autism. We anticipate being able to save several out-of-district placements.
Right.
That program obviously would need at least 1 paraeducator, so we were adding 1 to support students in that as well as all over the place. We would need to eliminate both safety officers. We would eliminate the full $5,000 staff development budget. We would eliminate those cafeteria monitors that were going to be new in this budget. Again, the field trips and the field trip transportation, which we really can't take trips if we don't have budget money for it, because you can't take trips for just the kids who can afford it. And if we're making these kinds of cuts, we have no way to support, we could say, well, we'll charge the families, but when Shane's mom says he can't go on the trip because I can't afford it, typically school districts have a fund, sorry, Shane.
It's always him. No, that is Peter and Gilbert. It's
He's
always
right
him.
there when I look to the side, I can't help it. We can't take the trip if we can't support the students who can't afford it. And we obviously, when we're in this position, don't have a slush fund to say, no problem, we've got you. So there would be no trips. Again, the gifted program, the STEAM night, the literacy night, the classroom supplies, the office supplies, and the .4 custodian. So those were the two smaller increases. Any questions in that second category?
Before you move on, I just want to, the staff development, what you had this week for the restorative practice.
Yes,
She was here for 2 days?
she's doing 2 full
Or
days
3, yeah,
and 1 afternoon.
yeah. Very powerful stuff.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear
Yeah.
that.
So, it's important. It's important, so. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to hear that feedback. It was just today, so I didn't know that yet. Okay, so let's go to the second side and let's talk about the biggies. These were 30% and 50% of the total increase, which is $2.5 million. I'm showing you there again, the 906 supports K-6, 856 is the increase in the Gilbert budget, which obviously I have no influence over, and 830,000 is for out-of-district special education tuition and transportation. And as much as I wish, I have no way to influence that either, other than potentially hiring staff and creating programs to bring kids back. But we're obviously not in a position to do that. So 30% of the total increase is $767,000. I have been working on that since long before the question was asked, trying to figure out how to, somebody said to me, maybe it was Frank, easily a week ago, word on town is you've got to cut $1 million. So I have spent countless hours trying to figure out how you get to $1 million. I have stood on my head and spit nickels, and here's what I've got. To get to 767, we stopped doing specials. We have to do PE because it is required by law. But to take Carol's thought from the other day, what do we do that is not legally required? Well, there's no law that says we must offer art, music, and library innovation. However, what we must do is fulfill the teacher's contract, which requires a 40-minute prep daily. That is not the only reason that we do art, music, and library, to provide a teacher's prep. However, by offering those classes, it provides the teacher's prep. So if we eliminate specials, then we would shorten the school day by 40 minutes, and the teacher's preparation period would be after school, essentially, still within their contracted workday. Undoubtedly, that would impact Gilbert, because we can't run all the kids at once on the buses, or it would double our transportation bills. So we would shorten our day by 40 minutes, and our kids would leave Gilbert 40 minutes early. Whether they alter their day or not is not my purview.
And that would affect parents, of course, some work and pickups and everything else, you know.
Kids would be coming home 40 minutes earlier
Yep.
than usual.
Yep.
Right now, kids get home between 3 and 4. This means they'd get home between 2 and 3.
Parents want them there later.
Yes.
Add 40 minutes, please.
Julie, on the 30% of the total increase, you said eliminate one principal.
Yep, getting there.
Sorry. Go ahead.
You're ahead of me.
Okay.
The 6 special area teachers don't get me all the way there. To get all the way there, we would also eliminate the Pearson principal position. It will be open because, as you know, Barb has retired effective the end of the year. Instead of hiring a replacement for her, we would, although it wouldn't save us that much, I goofed. We would name Rosie principal over both schools. But I forgot that there is a stipend in the contract. Somebody double check me quick. It may be $5,000 a month for every month that you're assigned to 2 schools. So that would be 60,000. So this is only getting me to about 700. I failed. I'm sorry. I totally forgot that piece in my haste today.
Stipend.
Okay, so that is probably only getting you to about 700,000, but I will recalc that.
I did talk to Mrs. Salisbury, she's not gonna retire,
Retire.
and she's gonna work for free.
Excellent.
What great news.
That's wonderful, Barb.
With the grandkids.
You can bring the
With
baby
the
with
grandkids,
you.
yes.
I've tried to articulate a few of the reasons why I cannot suggest to you that it's a good idea to have one principal across both schools.
Don't you have to, by law, have a principal in each building?
No. I mean, you would have
You would
a
have
principal
vice.
of the school, but they would be floating between two buildings. My very first admin job, actually, I was assistant principal of Stratford Academy Johnson House, and Lucille was assistant principal of Stratford Academy, something with a very Stratfordy name, Honey Spot House, and Marge Sherman was principal over both. Now,
So as long as you have an administrator.
I
in the
think
building.
it would not be
Or a
illegal.
designated administrator, you would have to designate in the absence of the actual.
No, you would say that Rosie was the principal of both schools, she would be the principal of record.
But when she's not in that building.
You have to have somebody take
Yeah, the
over as
assistant would
record.
be the
Right,
designated.
which is why we still have our assistant principals.
Okay.
So some of the concerns that come to mind immediately are, you saw the data for behavior. So if we're responding to over 2,000 calls at Hinsdale and we've pulled an administrator 50% of their time out of that building, that's a lot less coverage for handling things like behavior and emergency situations. There was a situation yesterday and again today that tied up at least 3 or 4 adults for the entire day over one situation. Parents' emails, you know, all of those things would obviously be backburnered. Staff and student concerns, it's just gonna be harder to get near your principal if you have one. Our principals are the primary evaluator for paraeducators, BTs, speech and language assistants, teachers, pretty much everybody, even the custodians. So if we take one person out of the mix on that, that redistributes the workload across everyone else, and there's no way they're doing it with as much gusto and enthusiasm. It also means that there is less coverage to attend student PPTs and 504 meetings and child study team meetings. There's just no way one person can do what 2 people did. So all that work flies on other people. Finally, I couldn't get to the $1 million number. I think I shared with you previously by explaining the only way to get to $1 million was to take class size, I mean, just literally take like half of the classroom teachers. Class size 40 doesn't fly for all of the obvious educational reasons, but also because our classrooms are not rated by the fire marshal to go up to 40, that's not a thing. And the teachers who remain would be earning basically double salary because they'd be above class size. So it was a Mobius strip equation. Everything I put out made it cost more. So here's what I've come up with. Gilbert School has published to us that the tuition rate is $24,000 a student. Multiply that by the 76 students we're projecting for 7th grade and keep them. Reduce the amount of tuition that we have to pay by $1.8 million. We can hire the teachers and outfit 4 classrooms for under $500,000 and net about $1.3 million in savings. We would likely move the 3rd grade to Hinsdale so that there was a more even distribution of students and tighten up the grade ranges. Scenarios 1, 2, and 3 feel like we are absolutely breaking our promise to students and the community. Number 4, I think could land us in litigation, but it's the only one on the list that actually feels doable. So there you have it. I can take your questions.
Why would number 4 land you in litigation?
I suspect that Gilbert will debate us on the $1.8 million reduction to tuition.
But we're encumbering those students, right? So that means we'd be K through 7 instead of K through 6?
Yes, that's
And that
exactly
brings-
what I'm
Brings
saying.
them back from Gilbert. Is there a
We do not have a contract.
We don't have a contract. But legal, like,
We do not have to send 7th grade to Gilbert.
What about
so
8?
legally, we don't have to send them. I mean, but space-wise, is that doable?
Yep. I can create
And I
4
know in
classrooms.
Watching previous meetings, one of the goals was taking back some of the kids, before I was on the board.
Okay.
Um,
I'm gonna tell you, this is the only scenario that I think is worthy of discussion. And I think it's a little bit
I think
complicated,
it's a great
but
idea.
I'm so glad I made you happy, Carol.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
So currently we're K through 6. You're suggesting go K through 7.
Correct.
What would happen if we get back to like what we were, K through 8, and only have, 11 through 12 or 10 through
9
12?
through 12.
We
We would-
also had an extra building.
Yeah,
at
we
that
don't have
point.
any more room.
That's true.
It's not impossible.
Oak Street's available perhaps?
That's
No,
what I
I
was
meant
thinking,
even
is Oak Street,
I
anything
don't
we
know. We used
could,
to rent it
yeah,
during COVID.
Oh,
like
good.
even
I don't know.
if we do.
I really don't know.
Before we
Third and
start
fourth.
opening other buildings,
Yeah.
let me say this. 8th grade
Right?
is, I think pulling kids back who are already there is an uncomfortable ask, which is why 7th grade makes sense. Gilbert's already started their planning for next year. Not sending 76 kids is different than not sending 76 and calling another 75 families and saying, hey, we want the kids back. But I think if we did take 7th grade back and we want to continue on to 8th, we could have that conversation and look at what we could shift and move and create space in Pearson School and do a grades 4 through 8 intermediate middle school. It is Pearson Middle School. At some point before my time and knowledge, it was a middle school, so.
Now, then that would also help the gap from testing that is
It might.
an issue because we have more control, and then leave Gilbert to their own devices.
I will say this, and I think we can, after we get through the budget, we can talk about curriculum. And I think there was talking about collaboration on the math side with Gilbert and K through 6. I've also getting, like, our math program goes K through 5, correct? And then 6th grade is by itself. So if we could find alignment in curriculum with 6th, 7th, and 8th, it could help Gilbert in the math scores. In speaking to our 6th grade teachers, there's some concepts that they don't teach that are required when they go up there. So there is a gap, because they were at one point in the same curriculum. Gilbert jumped it pretty quick. They didn't like it. But also, I don't know if Gilbert likes the current curriculum they have. So if there's a discussion and neither like what they have, maybe we find a curriculum for both at the same time and then, work from there. But that's not what we need to discuss right now.
I think it could be a good idea. I just think that 4th graders are very different than 7th graders.
That's what I worry. I think having 3rd and 6th grade in the same building is tough.
Exactly. I know there's already parents that don't love that, but
I think that's tough. When Pearson was 6th to 8th, you could, that's
that's
a middle
different,
school.
yeah.
Having young kids, I mean, we literally have pre-K in Pearson as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But,
That's true.
I've said that to Julie many times. I don't like having 3rd graders with 6th graders, so that would be the same with 4th and 7th grade. So
But how, I guess like how much are they actually mingling,
If we did it, we would have the 6th and 7th grade on the 3rd floor. Separate. They obviously would not have lunch or recess
Yeah.
at the same time. I will say in my experience and, having been in a lot of districts, there are places that have K-8 schools.
That's right.
Pre-K-8 schools.
Yeah.
There is something very sweet that happens when a 7th grader can, you have your 7th graders be book buddies with the 3rd graders and go read, although we're talking of moving 3rd grade, so to the 4th
Yeah.
graders. 4, 5, 6, 7 is only a 4-year span.
That's
You
true.
could say
I
that in a
just-
typical K-5 elementary, you have that many years span.
That's true.
People, districts that change their bus tiers and all of a sudden they are going K-12 on one run, or all of a sudden they're doing, 5 through 12 on one run, and people are horrified, and it's because it's change. At the
Yeah,
end of
I
the day,
guess.
there is nothing going on that would corrupt the minds of young people.
Yeah.
They'd be fine.
You would build your culture around it.
do we want to give the 6th graders another year to be big man on campus?
It is an achievement.
You can have that discussion with her.
So the good news
They
is
get
that
the
we get
seats in the
easier to
back,
be a
is that
sixth
what it
grade
is?
teacher because they'd no longer be the big
School bus,
dogs.
They sit in the back, see your kids.
Right. Okay, anything else?
One of the things I'll say is you are in the unique position, you are the Board of Education. Your mission is figure out what the kids need. If you think that the budget represents what they need and just don't like the price tag, I might say to you, send it forward. And between now and when it gets to the Board of Selectmen, we can have further discussions around keeping seventh grade, if that's something that appeals to the board as a whole, or continue discussing the other reduction scenarios. But if you don't see something that you're ready to commit to as a smart reduction, and like I've said, I don't support any of these, with the exception of the seventh grade with a little further research and exploration, then maybe the move is to put it forward as is, knowing this conversation is going to be revisited by the Board of Selectmen anyway. This is not the end of the line.
That was kind of my thought process going into this. We've looked through the budget. It is 9.8% is, of that increase is contractual obligations, insurance.
Right.
The things that are added are based off of our board retreat and the things that we said were most important to us. These are all things that we all felt strongly about and wanted to see, and that is what, 1.4% of, so I don't understand why we would cut ourselves off at the knees when we know that there is potential to then be cut off at the thighs when it goes to the Board of Selectmen.
So let's go to page 20. This is the page that we talked about, the positions that we're looking to add. We have the scenarios in front of us, right? Right there you go. Would anyone disagree, based on the data we got at the last meeting, that having another BCBA, which would give us 2 throughout 3 schools, is that important to our district?
Extremely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone, I mean, everyone, I just wanna hear from everyone. The BCBA, and we had the data.
And I feel like that will help with our teacher retention as well. That's one of the big things we are hoping to
So
work towards.
when we discussed the tier 1 and tier 2 incidences last, I got it.
One of these days.
So tier 2 and tier 3 incidences, Hinsdale last year had 1,864 tier 2 instances. Pearson had 499. This year, aside from the tier 3 of Pearson, the numbers seem to have dwindled down. Part of that, I think, is because we had a full-time BCBA in the 3 buildings at that point. Specifically our 2 buildings, but he goes to Gilbert as well. So I don't know if that's a position I'm willing to give up for our students and for our teachers.
It's the safety of our teachers too.
The professional development that they saw talked about restorative practices, which the BCBA is very big on, and can teach, say, green staff, better ways to cope with students that are on the potential of having meltdowns. Special education teacher, I don't see that as, so before we get into like the percentage of cuts we wanna look at, I wanna see out of this list that we're looking to add positions, are there any one here that you can say, do we really need? And I wanna hear from everyone.
If I can make a recommendation?
Yep.
we could get three behavior technicians for one board BCBA. I mean, I know the BCBA is important, but, you know, manpower and the
The
ability.
behavior techs are not, go ahead.
Honestly, Joseph, I'm
What?
giggling a little because I called Kathy this morning with that same question. Knowing everything I do, and I'm still working, I mean, I haven't slept in days trying to figure out how to do this. And so I'm examining every single cut, and I called Kathy, and I said exactly that. I said, look, what if instead of the BCBA, we got 2 BTs so that we had 3 in each building, and, you know, we use our 1 geo to really man everybody. And I was prepared to disagree with any argument she made because it's her job. No. You stop me if I say anything wrong, but, I mean, I listened for 45 minutes. Renee was in the room. I was prepared to do it anyway, no matter what she said. And she talked me out of it because she reminded me that the skill level of a BCBA and a BT are very different, and the capacity for what the BCBA does is very different. So the BCBA is the only one who can be doing the formal evaluations that are required. The number of students who are in the queue waiting to have functional behavioral assessments, which is what the specialty of the BCBA is, that's where people do all the observations, collect all the data, and analyze what's going on to say, why is Joseph popping off? And that's where is it trying to get him out of the classroom? Is it trying to get him attention and really understanding the function of the behavior? That's why it's called a functional behavior assessment. The BCBA has to take the lead on those. Other people can help collect the data, but we don't have anyone else with the skill set to conduct those evaluations. That alone warrants the second BCBA. Plus, when you have a situation going on, if you have a BCBA who's mostly full-time in a building, then when something unexpected happens, the BCBA can get right there, see what's going on. Right now, it's only a 50-50, less than 50-50, because we're 1 day a week with Gilbert. It is not highly likely, it is less than 50% likely the BCBA will be on hand to see the behavior happening in its live moment. If you have a person in each school, that probability goes way up. So I did ask that same question. I'm a practical girl. I can get 2 for the price of 1, and much to my surprise, because once I get fixed on something, I don't change my mind easily, but Kathy's nodding, yeah, you're a pain. But I am sold completely on keeping our promise that we made to supporting staff, supporting students. It's what we said we were about when we went into this budget. And BTs are great, but BCBAs are also super important.
That was a great idea.
Yeah.
Listen, that's what we're here for.
Is that okay? I had the exact idea you did, so I applaud the way you're thinking. I think your question was, is there anything on the list that could go, right?
Yeah, does anyone, if, looking at that list of additions,
Right.
what are you comfortable in saying, you know what, I could see us doing without that and it won't impact our kids?
I would say the behavioral technicians, we're asking for proposed 1 for this year.
One yeah.
One
So
additional.
that there would be 2 at Hinsdale and 2 at Pearson.
Right now,
Based
there's
on
only-
those Hinsdale numbers, you could see why 1 BT is woefully inadequate.
There's only 1 at Hensel and there's 2 at Pearson, okay.
Yeah. There were 2 and 2,
You're over that
but
a lot, aren't you?
I'm all over.
there were 2 BTs, 2 at each school. But again, we've been peeling back the humans a few a year until,
How many lunch monitors do you propose in that 47,000?
so I think the way that worked out was roughly like 3 people for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. I think the lunch waves take, maybe it's 1.5 to 2 hours at Pearson, and 3 people for, it's closer to like 1 hour and 15 minutes at Hinsdale. because the little ones don't eat in the lunchroom.
What do we have now?
None,
None, right?
none. Our social
So-
workers, our
so-
BTs.
So are the lunch waves staggered such that the three can rotate?
It would be the same three people throughout. So there
Going
would be
here
the
and then going there?
consistency. Oh, no,
Oh,
not
okay.
across the two buildings.
Oh, no?
So these are part-time people, they're not
Yeah.
benefits eligible.
Okay.
This is,
Is it possible to stagger your lunch wave so that these monitors go from one building to the next in a period of a day?
no. Plus, they would then probably be more than half-time, and we would be required
Benefits.
to offer benefits.
Okay.
Our school days are only staggered by 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So if one school had to have lunch before the other, one
Yeah.
of them would be either having brunch or dinner.
So, the lunch monitor, that's a non-certified position, right?
Oh, yes.
It's by hour.
Hey, Joseph, non-certified position,
We can get into finer details of that later.
no, I was saying, did you wanna donate some time, you know, for the lunch monitor?
No, I was thinking, could you use parents? Could you seriously?
But
Yeah.
that's kind of unreliable, I mean.
Yeah, you'd.
They still have to be
Parents are
fingerprinted,
unreliable?
non-boarded, and it's
A lot of parents
inconsistent.
work.
Listen,
Too.
I'll tell you this, I think if you get parents in there, they're not gonna stay long.
It's not an
They're
easy
gonna-
job.
In unsupervised environment.
Well, they're the supervisor. I mean, you don't think it would work the opposite?
Oh, no. You're not controlling that.
Can I invite you, Frank?
Unsupervised.
Let's do it together tomorrow.
Want to try it?
Yeah.
I'll try something.
I
Okay.
do, take her up on that.
I think, and I invite anyone else who wants to come hang out for a couple hours
Yeah,
one
it's
day. Lunchroom,
Is it-
hallways, anywhere.
Frank, when you were in school and a principal came in to observe, were you like
Yeah.
on your best behavior? Okay.
Times have changed.
These kids.
Well,
these
that's why
days
I'm
are
thinking, no,
not. They
but that's
don't
why,
change their
my
behavior.
thinking is if they see parents,
Nope.
it would just work the opposite.
Keep in mind, 45, I think, % of our employees actually live here in town.
All right.
They already are our parents.
Yeah.
It's not helping. You know, when we had our board meeting Tuesday night and we had all the kids in the room, half of their parents already work for us. I recognize, I was like, oop, there's one, oop, there's one, oop, there's one. They're our employees now.
I thought it would just react the opposite.
You
Wouldn't
would
you?
think, based on how you grew up, nope. They don't care.
The times they are
It's
changing.
amazing.
I want us to be aware that while we banter about behavior and so forth in a humorous way, we are dealing with families that are in need. I want us to be mindful and sympathetic to persons that may or may not have resources
No.
that some of us have been blessed with. So, you know, I really want to get analytical about this in a way that is fair to the people that are watching, because we're also talking about careers. And I think it's important we focus on really what's feasible. If, for example, the board-certified BCBA could help work with the behavior techs, who then can work with a whole host of issues inside school, which could shift your culture, which then might not necessarily make lunch monitors so essential. They are essential now, but the trickle-down effect, you know, I'd like to talk about that. I'd like to know whether or not if we were to cut lunch monitors right now, whether or not if we kept the BCBA and the behavior techs, would that, in your estimation, have a cultural shift such that if we were to take out the 47,000 for lunch monitors, we would be okay in the long run? I just thought what your thoughts are on that.
So I'm going to answer you two ways. The reason we added the lunch monitors isn't actually about behavior. It's because the academic interventionists and the BTs are the people supervising lunch. And so having the lunch monitors means we could be doing better intervention, which arguably prevents special education identification. So it's sort of running up a different ladder.
Right.
That said, if it got the board to a place where you could be comfortable, I would say to you, take off the $9,000 Gilbert adjustment, take out the lunch monitors. You know, on all of these 2 pages, that is the one thing that I'll say to you, as seriously important as it is, that's my one, that's my give. And I'm not being fresh or facetious. That is important, but it is the only thing on the entire list that I won't feel disingenuous saying to you, go ahead.
So that has an effect on kids. How about,
Yes, it does.
they all do, right? The custodial request, can you run us through that again? Because maybe that's an area. I know, but again, I'm thinking about if we adjust here, it might have the trickle-down effect there. Can you run us through again the custodial staff and?
Sure, Nancy, do you want to address that one?
Right now, we are short custodial staff at Pearson School.
Okay.
We have 3 custodians that handle a $105,000 building.
Yeah.
The
Square
date
foot?
is 105,000 square foot building.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say dollars?
Yeah, it's like,
Sorry.
what?
She's the money guy.
Don't worry about it.
Anyway, 105,000 square feet. And the morning, the early shift custodian spends all the lunch periods handling the garbage, continuously taking it out and cleaning up the tables because the lunch waves are one right on top of another. So they don't have their full shift to even work in the building. Even 30,000 square feet per worker, if it was just cleaning a building, would be very difficult to do. And it is clearly way beyond that. So we are quite hampered at Pearson, which is why I pushed for this part-time
I
custodian.
think that
In our
stays.
climate survey, students reported feeling negative feelings about their school because of cleanliness. It is, I mean, a real issue.
So while we analyze all these positions, you put them there for a reason. I think we should scrutinize every dollar, but in order to actually, because we're looking at a $2.5 million increase, we need something that moves the needle, and the uncomfortable / fallout, the only thing that I've heard tonight that was like a viable, and while this is very important, and again, there may be shockwaves that go afterwards, but that fourth option, which was like a real dollar amount, instead of, right, and again, like you said, we can scrutinize every dollar, and that is what we're here to do. But if we look at that large of an increase, I think that doesn't stand a chance of being, well, I won't say, I'm not going to say or speak for others, but it's going to be very hard pressed. And while I understand that's not our job to necessarily, you know, to give forth the best product, that's the one thing that I've seen or heard tonight that I said, again, I don't know, because that's not my area of expertise. But if that was a real or viable option, again, there is other pieces, there's other ripples, but that is something real and viable, and if it was a actual solution. Again, I know
Yep.
that's not an easy,
None
Believe
of
me,
it's easy.
I'm
None of it's
But-
perfectly fine with the idea.
The
My
economic-
worry is that if this board were to vote tonight to reduce our budget by 1 point,
so
whatever $1 million, and to bring back 7th grade, that's great, unless something doesn't work in the 7th grade idea, in which case you've just approved a budget that will not open our doors.
So, I'm just stating from my standpoint, like, we haven't voted, I'm not trying to push or say anything. I'm not gonna pass the budget as is from my own standpoint, whether right or wrong. But that was a viable option that seemed like the biggest needle mover. So I would be interested to know, because we're here to have the discussion about that, and what does that actually look like? So if we explored that option further, because again, that was put together, and you're like, this is the only one that I could see being a viable option, you know. Again, exploring that further, what is the realistic nature? Is that is that something that could realistically be done without a extreme fallout, right? And when I say extreme fallout, is that, like, does it actually work? Because if it doesn't work, then it's not a actual
Not worth
option.
pursuing.
And I think
Yeah.
it cuts the budget going forward, because if we've got the 7th grade, I mean, that cuts the budget in half, right? And then going forward, we have control of the 7th grade now, so we keep more of our money, and is it a long-term solution going forward? Because then our budget isn't gonna increase as much, because we're not paying Gilbert that extra money. I mean, is it something, I agree with Shane, I think it's something we really should explore. 100%.
I'll say this, if we keep the positions that we were looking,
And you keep everything else, and you
Right.
get the add-on.
right, I think we'd be close to being fully staffed at this point, so next year we wouldn't be looking at adding more positions.
That's what I'm saying.
Moving forward, right? I also think that,
Until the insurance and the transportation goes up again.
well, no, I also think the insurance, it will, I think we're priced appropriately now in insurance, where we weren't, which is why we saw the big increase. So I don't see us having a big increase in insurance next year like we did. So having our budget start off with a huge deficit as we had this year. So, yeah, I think next year, while difficult, it won't be as difficult as we've had in the last 2 years. And, yeah.
This
I
is
think
recorded, remember.
I think, yeah. and
I'm gonna look back.
Listen, you can timestamp it too. But I think also, I mean, it was not a solution I was looking at, but if we want to, I'm not saying vote on that tonight, but I think it gives Julie more time to kind of
Explore
research it
it.
a little bit
Yeah.
more. And then we come back. So if that's what we want to do, what we'll have to do is withdraw the current motion that's on the table. And then we might have to make another motion for Julie to explore scenario 4. And then we'll have to meet again.
But could I say something?
Yep, absolutely.
What I like about the plan with the 7th grade is it's part of our long-term capital plan, our long-term plan.
That's what I'm saying.
It's something moving forward to solidify what we try to do is make things better each year. I mean, we always talk about a one-year budget, but we should also be thinking about how that progresses to year 2, 3, and 4. So by year 4 that we have I'm on here for 4 years, you're on 2 years, but at that time, that we're better off than the day we started. That's what I'm trying to say. So if this works, if this can work, we can make this work, and we can get a foothold in the budget, then that's the way to go.
Prior to my tenure on the board, the previous Board of Ed, before receivership, had voted to allow 7th and 8th to go to Gilbert. Teachers moved up to Gilbert, so the inverse is what you're talking about. Perhaps Gilbert teachers move down, but they have to have new employment.
contract.
New employment,
New union.
if they choose to, you know.
Right.
But I think it's important that you're also aware, and I need to speak about this, is that while we may, it's an option, take back 7th grade, without cost controls, Gilbert can still give us a budget or a bill
Well,
that
that's-
may or may not, because they still have to open a building.
The way he explained it, he goes by who's where on October 1st. He said even with his European or international students, if they apply, if he has an admission statement from them for October 1st, they're there for the year. So this would have to be done by October 1st.
You just may not realize the savings you're anticipating because the building at Gilbert still needs to open, and the
Is
like.
that something you can explore with him?
I can.
Okay.
I would say the endowed academies, and we've checked, tuition is a per pupil construct. Gilbert has approved a budget. They have published a per pupil spending of $24,226, which is the tuition, which under statute, they set tuition and then we tell them how many kiddos we're sending. We told them our enrollment numbers. We've not committed and don't have a contract for how many students we're sending. If tuition is 24,000 and we're sending 76 less students, then the tuition should reflect that.
Should.
I hear your concerns, which is why I am not suggesting that we reduce our budget by 1.2 million tonight in anticipation. But, I've spoken with our attorneys, I've researched the statute, I've researched how other endowed academies operate for tuition. It is ultimately tuition. The rate, I forget, did you speak with Norwich Free or Woodstock earlier today? One of them, it was 21,000. Which one? Woodstock Academy, they charge $21,000.
What does that encompass? Does it, like, do they include how much it costs for heat, electricity? Because that's, I think, where Nora's going, because it still costs money to run that building, right?
So-
You're still paying, no, I guess they don't pay taxes, right? But, no, but like, the cost of running the building, is that in that $24,000? Do they take all their costs and then divide it?
So, again, much like the discussion earlier where we were talking about ECS, and I said we're just different because our
Yeah.
relationship is one-to-one. Typically, of the other two endowed academies, they serve many towns, and so they take their budget and they figure out how much they need to bring in. They have some sense of how many students they'll have. I recall Norwich Free, when I spoke to them, talked about, you know, some of their international funds, some of their endowment funds take on like some capital projects. That's how they do cool things like at a library or something. But that they figure out what they need to charge per student, which Gilbert has told us is 24,000.
But what does
No-
that include? Is it the
Everything.
cost of running the whole school?
So
So
the-
it would include electric, heat?
Yep.
Okay.
So their 21,000
Utilities,
would
yeah.
not include transportation, as Gilbert's does not include transportation. We pay for that
I
outside
guess
of.
we paid that already.
Right, and if you were to send a student to Woodstock Free Academy, if you're the superintendent of a sending town, I'm sure that they get an upcharge for students who have special education needs. We don't get an upcharge because we already staff the special education. So it is very comparable.
You would just have to make sure that you're in agreement of the per pupil cost.
So, we have a motion, right?
So we have to
on the-
delete that emotion, right?
Well, we don't
Well, you
delete
can-
anything, we can.
You can withdraw a
Sorry,
motion,
we
you
can
can vote on a
Oh,
We can
motion.
vote against
The
it, yeah.
originalists can withdraw.
Are you comfortable with moving forward with what we're talking about right now?
Yes, I
Okay,
will
so-
withdraw my motion,
Okay, thank you.
so we
we're
can
gonna
investigate further.
Okay.
So motion is
So-
officially withdrawn.
So, as far as moving forward, do we need to make a motion or anything to explore the
Yes.
option of the fourth option, I guess,
Yes,
for
say it that
lack of
way.
a better term?
Yes.
Do we need a motion
Give it-
for that,
I
or you
don't know.
just?
Are we
I don't
voting
think
on
so.
that, or we just?
I don't think so.
we
Or
need-
just
What do you need,
saying
what do you
that-
need as direction to move forward?
I am clear with the direction that you're asking me
So
to
I
come
don't
back
think
to
we
our
need-
next
okay.
budget workshop with more information.
So
on option
speaking
four.
to that, we, in discussion of not knowing whether we'd have another meeting, next Tuesday, there is no school.
Oh,
That
Holiday.
does not,
Well, I think it's more or less how much time you need in
right.
relative
Do
time.
you wanna do Thursday, or do you think we could possibly do Tuesday with not, telling them they don't have to come?
I don't think I could have
that's
answers
what
for
I'm
you
saying.
by
Why don't we-
Tuesday,
Okay.
because
No.
if
All right.
Mike,
No.
Susie, and
Why
Holly
don't we
are out
leave
of
it open
town,
and-
you may need a Gilbert board meeting.
Right.
I don't think this is as simple as,
Right.
hey, Mike, I'm deducting 1.8, and he's gonna say, no problem, Julie.
Do
I anticipated maybe a little more contentious than that. I
we
almost
wanna-
am certain that you all will have a meeting next Wednesday.
That's what, we have a monthly meeting. We
Do
have
you
a
have
general-
one? Because
Yes,
this
we have a
one-
general meeting.
For
We
I
should.
mean,
Gilbert
you
School
know,
Corp?
Not to talk about budget, talk
Right.
just the
Yeah.
monthly.
Yeah, we
Color
have a
me
regular
pleased and surprised if the response
But we
from
will not
Gilbert is
mention
great, no
anything,
problem.
we will not mention anything about this.
Oh, they know.
Oh,
What do
you'll,
you mean?
They're
What do you mean they don't?
watching,
They know.
Frank, they're on
Oh,
TV.
I'm sorry.
Everybody
Yes.
say
So wait,
hi,
your
hi,
regular
Holly.
meeting on the 18th?
All right.
So we would meet Thursday?
You comfortable with that?
Let me say this, if we get to
19th.
Thursday and I
Yeah.
have nothing to say to you, I'll let you know that. I mean, we may have to proceed without a resolution of that and continue to work on it.
Okay.
Okay,
You might have to pass a budget
Regardless.
absent that plan, but I will
Right.
do everything I can to pin it down before then.
Regardless, we should have, a meeting, so.
I mean, I've pinned down my part of figuring out the costs that would be associated with, you know, 4 content area teachers, English, math, science, social studies, world language, a special education teacher. some furniture, because we have some classrooms that have almost nothing in them, and we don't have storage anywhere, so we would need some furniture, we would need a math book, we would need the language arts program, but those costs are under $500,000, so I have my piece of it, but
So, as long as the room is open for
yes.
6 o'clock,
Will you send
Thursday,
it
the 19th.
Thursday?
Is there
Thursday, the 19th.
somewhere, Tiffany, where they publish the meeting room availability? Would it be on the door, maybe?
Not
Nancy, would
this
you?
far.
Oh, I see what you mean.
No, not next
Wait,
week?
next Thursday?
what's
Does the
that?
sign on
Next
the door
Thursday,
tell
no,
us?
next Thursday is the third Thursday, it's wetlands. Wetlands is 7 o'clock. Uses this room on the third Thursday.
Yeah, I feel like we
Are
need
they
more than an
groups
hour.
that might?
That's 7
Are they
to
the
what?
one that went
No,
across the hall
that's-
last week for us?
You have to check with Terry.
Yes.
Board of Selectmen will be meeting on Tuesday.
All right, let's say tentative, before we leave here, we'll say 6 o'clock, Thursday, the
Wait.
19th, here.
But that's wetlands.
We will.
Oh, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock,
Okay.
but we will also see if they can
Okay.
move their meeting across the hall, because technically we have
You have jurisdiction
prior.
Okay.
behind this Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
One more thing, the pickup truck.
Did you get one?
No, wait a minute, no, no, I'm just saying, at the selectmen meeting a couple of months ago, the work that the gas company's doing on Main Street, the town has an agreement with them for the police. They get a fee for the hours the police work. So what they did so far with the construction is the money that came into the town purchased through the police department a cruiser.
That rings a bell.
Right? So now, if they're gonna finish the job, I guess this spring, whatever money they get from that, maybe we can work out a deal with the town manager for a pickup truck
Love it.
to the state contract.
Love it.
Use the money to the Board of Education for
Love it.
that. For the
Grease the
sand,
wheels.
That's currently in our capital plan, so that would reduce our capital plan by a little bit.
See, it's good going to meetings, see?
I already have a headache.
No, but I mean, that's what they did, because everybody thinks, oh, the police are sitting out there building up their pension. They're not. They're getting paid, the money's coming to the town, and they're using the money for certain things. So what they did was, they made a proposal to buy, so if they're gonna finish the job, there'll be more hours to the town.
Love it.
If we could work something out.
I will bring it up in my next meeting with Paul, try and get on the wish list.
So you just need a straight pickup truck.
Pickup truck, they could put a plow and the sand thing, so probably the F-250 something. Well, the state has
got you in
requirements.
the works.
The
I'll-
state
I'll
has
see what I can do.
requirements. You paid on what requirements you want.
I'm gonna look into
Excellent.
Unless you
And
know
I got-
somebody
I got-
wants to make a
I got
donation.
connections,
Unless you
Frank.
got somebody who wants to make a
I got
monetary
connections.
donation.
Okay,
I'll
so
see what I
one
can do.
Make a motion.
motion was withdrawn.
Withdrawn.
There's no more motions to deal with.
Yep.
We've
We will
set a
move
new
on.
meeting. We would have public comment,
Yep.
obviously.
We're meeting next.
Well, I still gotta announce it, right?
Yeah,
All right.
offer it.
All right, we're gonna move on to item 4, public comment.
Okay.
The Winchester Board of Education welcomes you to its business meeting. There are 2 opportunities set aside to hear comments from the public. We welcome and encourage public participation as a valued part of communicating input with the Winchester Board of Education. We appreciate your adherence to the following. Please request your information on the sign-in sheet. If you wish to speak, state your name and address when called upon to speak. You'll be allotted 3 minutes to share your comments. Please be advised that it is not the practice of the Board of Education to engage in dialogue regarding commentary. The superintendent of schools will be directed by the chairperson to prepare an appropriate response in a timely manner. We appreciate your time and thoughtful commentary. Would anyone wish to speak? Would anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, move on to item 5. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
Frank will make the motion.
I will second it.
Ooh.
Or
All right, let's
anybody
give it
can
to
do
Carol. Carol second.
Give it to Carol.
All in favor? All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thinking, Julie, you get an A+.